everybody doing? We got people from all over the world on this one. This is exciting. Everyone tell me in the chat where you're from and what you're drinking today. I currently have a big glass or mug of coffee, and we are going to crush it today. I'm so stinking excited. So we have John says, hey. George says, hi from Ireland. Matthew says, Illinois. Wow. Tony says, from the UK. Wow. What time is it for everybody here? I think I saw somebody say that it was like 2:45 in the morning or something like that where they're from. Wild. Absolutely incredible. Hello from PA. Hello from Germany. Tom from Switzerland. That's awesome. Great stuff. Canada and coffee. Alex says he's from Canada and he's drinking coffee. Hello from Japan. Wow, look at all the chat. This is amazing. Wow. John from Africa. Welcome, John. Good to see you here, buddy. I really I love it when you come to my stuff. You're fun, man. You're a good time. Troy says coffee coming up. All right. Love it. 11 a.m. here and coffee is my beverage. And Kevin says hi from oh my goodness, I need to slow down the chat. Massachusetts, North Carolina, Norway. And here we are. Man, I am so stinking pumped about this. Drinking a bunch of coffee, having a good time. This is going to be an absolute blast today. There is a lot to cover and not a whole lot of time. So please, if you could, take your turn on Do Not Disturb, take your phone, flip it upside down on the desk or something like that. Unless, of course, you're watching on your phone, then put it on like Do Not Disturb. We got a lot to cover, and we don't have a whole lot of time to do it today. So who is excited for us to break into how to get great vocal mixes at home? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready to start diving into this. It is currently 12:02. 12:02. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're ready to dive into this, if you're excited about this. I know I'm pumped. I have been working on this for a very, very long time, and I know some of you are going to have some serious questions about what I'm giving away for free today. There's a lot. I'm really, really very excited about this. Awesome. Love to see it. Great to see it all. Yeah, thumbs up in the chat. Woot woot. He says woot woot. Michael, yes. Awesome. And Jordan, thumbs up. Very excited. Wow, look at this go. Richard says, let's go. Man, I love to see it. I am so pumped today about this. This is a year's worth of work boiled down into a single webinar. I have boiled down the essence of what I believe absolutely makes a great vocal mix. And I believe that I'm going to be able to deliver that entirely today. So we got tons of thumbs up in the chat. Wow, look at that. Kevin, Matthias, Harold. Wow, Kathy. Good to see you, Kathy. Tyler. Man, love to see it. Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. If you're pumped, let's get into it without further ado. So here we go. How to get perfect vocal mixes at home without analog gear, expensive mics, or even acoustic treatment. My goal, I'm going to show you how you can get professional sounding vocals every single time, even if you don't have acoustic treatment, expensive mics, or even analog gear. And by the end of this masterclass, you will have a system to get pro vocals every time you press record, all from the comfort of your home studio. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to show you how to get clean, rich sounding vocals, even if you don't have a vocal booth or acoustic treatment, how to make any mic sound full using the proximity effect, the 3 sister plugins I use on every vocal mix, and how to mix your vocals into a beat or a song and make it sound like it's actually a part of the music and not just awkwardly sitting alongside it. If you've ever done this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you stay to the end, you'll be given a private link to download the stems of the project we're working on today. This is only for people who stay into the end. Now, for those of you wondering, no, that's not the gift I'm giving everyone who attended today. The stems are just a bonus. The gift is way better. I don't want to blow it, but all I can say is it's worth more than a gift card and less than a MacBook Pro. Important reminders. You must be passionate about working on music. I cannot give you that. You actually need to do the work to see the results. This is not a one-button solution. It takes a little bit of work, and you actually need to take action on what you learned today. Be an action taker with everything that you get to learn today. And I also highly suggest turning off your phone or putting it on airplane mode, do not disturb, because we have a lot to cover and not a whole lot of time. So real quick, a little bit about me. I'm Andrew Barr. I've been making money working with bands, artists, and musicians all over the world for 8+ years. I built producinginthebox.com in 2021 to help musicians get incredible sounding music without analog gear. I've engineered songs that have played on the radio. I've worked with Slate Digital, DistroKid, KitPlug, and Submarity, which is a company that has done some sound design for Marvel Studios and more. And I don't say this to toot my own horn. I say this so that way you know that you can trust me when I tell you how to get great vocal mixes. And this is just a little bit of what people are saying about me. So my story, real quick, I promise I won't go into this too much, but that photo on the left there is the first studio I ever had. I had everything set up on a card table, and that monitor I got from a garage sale, and I had to buy an adapter to actually get it plugged in everywhere. And then the photo on the right is when I upgraded eventually to an actual real studio, and not just a card table that I was putting everything on. And my home studio wasn't the world's greatest at the time, but I was having fun making music. Now, here's the thing. I had a friend who had a sick studio. He had access to everything I could have ever wanted. When I walked into his studio, he had Burl, Universal Audio, Neve, API, Focal, SSL, all of these big name brands which just littered all over his studio. I had access to everything I could have ever wanted. And he let me take the driver's seat in his studio. But no matter what I did, my mixes sounded the same as they always did. They sounded awful. That's an actual photo of me listening to the mix I made at his studio. I was frustrated and super confused. That's when my friend told me the secret. It's not what gear you use, it's how you use it. So I spent the next decade learning how to master this skill. And I learned what I'm about to teach you the hard way, and it took me over 10 years of making mistakes, figuring out the strategies, philosophies, and techniques that I'm going to share with you in this workshop. This is the hard way. Wasting time turning knobs and dials aimlessly until maybe accidentally getting it right, but never being able to replicate it later on. Wasting time and money learning new plugins, mics, and maybe even hardware only to have the same result you had before you wasted all that money on new gear, leaving you feeling frustrated and confused. And trying to network with and learn from the pros that know what they're doing, but you have nothing of value to offer them yet. Does that sound like you? That's because I was right where you are right now. I went through it all the hard way, and now I'm turning around and lending a helping hand so you don't have to struggle like I did. Now, would you like to learn the best way to record professional radio-ready vocals with the gear and room you already have? So here's the opportunity. Since learning this system, I've worked with artists all over the world, made incredible music in my home studio, worked with Fortune 500 brands, and taught this exact system with success to many others just like you. Before I show you my repeatable step-by-step system for getting professional-sounding vocals, I need to bust some myths that are holding you back. Myth 1, I need analog gear to get professional recordings. This is simply not true. Artists like Phineas, which is Billie Eilish's brother and producer, have won Grammys for music recorded in a bedroom studio with no analog gear at all. That photo on the left is his actual bedroom studio. Myth number 2, I need an expensive microphone. Remember Phineas, Billie Eilish's brother and producer? He recorded one of Billie's songs, Ocean Eyes, on a $99 condenser mic. So yeah, this song. So yeah, expensive gear is not required. And myth number 3, I don't have the ear or talent to make my recordings sound professional. Now, while I feel your pain, this is not true. It may be true that this stuff comes more naturally to some more than others. But like in my favorite movie, Ratatouille, anyone can cook. And anyone can get great sounding vocal mixes. In fact, the strategies I'm showing you today will make great vocal mixes inevitable. So are you ready to start learning my step-by-step system to get great sounding vocals? Step 1, capture a great performance. This is what I like to capture. First is tone. The tone of a vocal is something you can't emulate later on. If I am singing super nasally like this, or if I have a really low, deep voice like this, I cannot emulate that or fix that in the DAW later on. This is something that you capture at the source and really cannot be altered in a way that makes it sound natural. Tone is extremely important. The next thing I like to capture is breath control. If I am breathing in between every word, it's going to sound super stuttery and super robotic, and it's not going to sound good. And even if I cut all of those breaths out, it's still not going to sound good. You have to have great breath control when you're capturing a great performance. Practice the breath control, and if you're recording somebody else, have them practice where they're going to breathe in between phrases while they're recording. And now another thing I like to capture is pitch. And I said sometimes because we have access to Melodyne, Auto-Tune, and all these nice tuning plugins, and they're great, but they can only fix the pitch so much. You really need to pay attention to the pitch while you're recording. And if it's something that you think that you could just get better, go for it. But if it's close enough that you could fix it with Auto-Tune or Melodyne, by all means, have fun with it. But pitch matters a lot. And if you try to stretch Auto-Tune too far, it starts sounding weird. Now, next is multiple takes. I like to have an artist record multiple different takes. So, for example, I'll have them do the verse 5, 6, 7 times, and then I will take each part of the verse and take the best parts of each one and comp them together. That's called vocal comping, and it's a very, very popular technique used in the industry all the time to get really flawless takes. And then I do the same thing for the chorus, and I do the same thing for the other verses and the bridges and everything like that. I get multiple takes, and then I can comp them together and get the best from each one. Now, step 2 is to get your source quiet. Here's how to treat a source. First is the most popular way, and a lot of people do it. It's acoustic treatment on the walls. It's what I have here in my studio. It's what a lot of popular studios have. It's what a lot of professional studios have, but it's not necessary, but it is a way. And if it's something that you're interested in doing and you own your house or you're able to hang stuff on the walls, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, but it's not necessary. And I'll show you other ways here. The next is the vocal shield, like the Kyotica eyeball, and if you just type in vocal shield on Amazon, you're going to get great sounding stuff on Amazon. There's tons of stuff for like under $100. They sit around your microphone, and it just works really, really well. The next is, I coined the term the pop-up acoustic treatment technique, but I've seen tons of people use it. Blankets, closets, mattresses, towels, anything that you can drape around you and get around you so that way you're eliminating all of the room reflections bouncing off the wall and going back into the microphone is going to help a ton. My dad used to say, if it works, it works. And that is so true. No one is going to be looking at your vocals when you're having the song released on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, and everywhere else. No one's going to be watching that part. They're just going to be hearing what you did. So it doesn't matter what it looks like. If it works, it works. And the next, and one of, I think, the most underrated ways to treat a source is dynamic mics. The SM58, the SM57, or the SM7B, the PD70, all of those are dynamic microphones. And dynamic microphones are a lot less sensitive. I am using the PD70 right now. It's a lot less sensitive. And because of that, you have to be closer to the microphones. Very dynamic. And so you have to be close to the microphone, hence the term dynamic. And then it eliminates a lot of the room sound because it's just not sensitive enough to pick it up. I have a microphone that when I put it in the studio, even though I've done all of the sound acoustic treatment to the walls and everything else, when somebody drives down the street, I still hear it in that microphone because it's a condenser microphone. But in this dynamic microphone, I don't hear it. It's a lot less sensitive, and it is really, really great at just picking up what's right here and nothing else around. And I think that's one of the most underrated ways to actually get a nice, quiet vocal sound. Now, step 3, record at a decent level. This is gain staging. So here's how to gain stage. I like to shoot for -18 to -9 dB of input gain. So while you're singing, shooting for around in there. A lot of plugin manuals say that that's like the sweet spot for their plugins and where they tested a lot of it. Look, at the end of the day, just don't clip. The numbers don't matter nearly as much as just not clipping. Just make sure you're not clipping. Going into your interface, you're going to be just fine. You can always turn it up or down later in the DAW. We don't have to worry about noise floor and all this other stuff that we used to have to worry about back in the analog days when that was all you had. The next is mic control. If I am getting very close to my microphone or very far away from my microphone, it's obviously going to change the volume of the microphone. And so if I'm farther away or if I'm up close, being up close is actually going to bring the volume up, and it's going to bring that input gain up. So you want to pay attention to that. Maybe when you're singing louder, you can go back like this instead of like right in here, and just to kind of like help work that out just a little bit. But there's another way that I like to do all the time, and that's record separate takes with different gain settings for separate parts. So for example, if I'm really quiet on a verse, I'll just kind of be like super chill and turn the gain up a little bit, making sure that I'm getting enough input gain on the verses. And then when somebody starts singing a chorus or something a little bit louder, I'll record a separate take and adjust the gain back down for that. Like I said, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is you just don't clip. Now here's how to make any mic sound full. The proximity effect. The closer you are to the mic, the more low end and boomier that sound. This is how radio and movie trailer announcers get that big, boomy voice. So for example, if I'm in here like this and I'm really on top of the microphone, the low end is going to be extremely enhanced. And if I'm back here talking the exact same way, you're going to hear a lot less low end. That's because the waveforms are a lot slower and they push a ton when they're right here. It's that proximity effect that creates a lot more low end and a drastic low end compared to the rest of the frequencies when you get closer to the microphone. It's definitely something to pay attention to. Now, use this technique sparingly. Too much can ruin a performance for sure, and I like to shoot for roughly 3 to 6 inches away from the microphone. And you can actually use a pop filter to control the distance. So for example, if you're not actually recording the vocals yourself, or even if you are and you're just trying to remember, you could just put a pop filter 3 to 6 inches away from your microphone. And then you know that every time you go to record or somebody else records, they're not going to get any closer than that. And I found that that's a sweet spot for almost every single mic. Dynamics, I like to get just a little bit closer, maybe towards that 3 inches distance. But 3 to 6 inches works great for just about every mic that I've tested it on. But make sure that you're testing it yourself. Okay, we now know how to get a great recording. How do we mix a good vocal recording? So this is where the 3 sisters come into place. And you're probably wondering, why am I showing you a photo of corn, beans, and squash? Well, the 3 sisters are 3 plants that you grow together, and they all help each other out. The corn grows up and it has this stalk, so the beans can wrap around and have something to climb to. The beans put nitrogen back into the soil, and the corn takes nitrogen out of the soil. And the squash is a ground coverage and is able to help keep prickly vines and predators away and all of that stuff. So altogether, they perform better than they would have on their own. I'll say that one more time. Together, they each perform better than they would have on their own. It's the same with these: EQ, compression, and saturation. EQ will take frequencies out. Compression will level everything out, and saturation will add frequencies back in. I like to think of EQ as the corn. Things can grow up. You can have a really nice tall bass with an EQ. You're cutting frequencies out, so it's drawing nitrogen out of the soil, but it builds a nice base for everything to climb back on top. And then I like to think of saturation as adding nitrogen back into the soil or adding frequencies back into that vocal. It saturates it a little bit, distorts it a little bit, and it just works really, really well. And then compression is what I like to use to level everything out. I like to think of the compression as the squash, the ground coverage, making sure that everything stays where it's supposed to, keeping those peaks and dynamics from going all over the place. I really, really, really like this analogy, and I just haven't found anything better to explain it. And these three plugins should be able to get you incredible sounding vocals, no matter what mic you're using, no matter where you are, as long as you do what I taught you earlier in this masterclass. These 3 plugins should get you everything you need. So now let's jump on in to the DAW. How's everyone feeling so far? Has anybody had an aha moment so far going through this? Let me know down in the chat below. It's been an absolute blast so far. I've still got tons of stuff to teach you. I just want to know how everything's going. Nico says, is it really live? Yes, it is. Brendan says, yes, it is. This is very live. Michael says, yes. Yes, I like doing this live because I like to answer questions along the way. Yeah, this is great. So if everyone's feeling confident about this, let me know. Alex says, love it, man. Matthew says, great. Awesome. I'm super, super pumped about this. Has anybody had an aha moment so far? Has a light bulb went off? Has anybody really kind of got a lot of clarity so far on what you need to do to get great vocals? I'm going to show you how to treat them here and actually use those 3 sisters here in just a second. Awesome. Great content. This is going great. Great information so far. Awesome. Chan says, I use too many. I realize that now. Yes, we've all used too many plugins. Matthew says, so far I'm on the right track. Mixing is where I need help. That's where we're getting to next. This is going to be great. Noah says, you're really opening my mind. Love it. Love it. Troy says, love the analogy. Yeah, me too. Great stuff. Great stuff. All right, let's jump right on into the DAW without further ado, and let's break this down, and I'll show you exactly how this all works. So here we have a session from my church And this song is absolutely incredible. It's In You by BC Worship. You can go check it out. And here is the main track for it. And then you get all of the vocals down here below. If you stay to the end, you'll actually get the stems to download all of the vocals, so you can actually practice this with yourself. It's a great time to play with it. So here I have a vocal. This entire section sounds like this.
What offering could I bring that's worthy of my King?
So this is what we're at right now. And I mixed all of these vocals with those three sisters. So let me show you. First, we're going to solo the main verse here. This is what the vocals sound like here. I'm going to bring this up so everybody can see.
What offering could I bring?
So now let's pull up the plugins. Actually, I'm going to pull up the mixer so you can actually see how things are going on. And I'm going to turn off the effects. So all of these vocals are going to a single bus, and I'm not using any processing on this bus at all to really prove a point. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm adding some EQ. So now I've turned off everything, and now I'm going to break down EQ. So remember how EQ was taking nitrogen out of the soil, like the corn? We're cleaning things up. We're making things sound nice and pure and clean. That's what this EQ is doing. So without the EQ,
what offering could I bring?
And then with the EQ.
That's worthy of my King.
Once again, without it.
That once was lost
with it.
Now forever sing.
I'm cleaning up a ton, and I'm going to show you a couple of these frequencies. They're kind of like the golden frequencies I always go to in vocals. So here, I'm going to clear this all out, and I'm just going to show you exactly what's going on. So here, I have a low cut where I'm cutting a lot of those lower frequencies, those lower rumbles. There's a lot of stuff that happens down there on the low end that doesn't need to happen in vocals. And the thing is, speakers have to replicate that sound. And you need to make sure that you're not giving it too much low end where it can't replicate it. So I cut about 145 hertz-ish there. Wherever it sounds good, but right around like 100 hertz, up to 150 sounds really, really good most of the time.
What offering could I bring?
And then I noticed there's a little bit of that low kind of muffled sound. And I'll show you what this is.
Offering could I bring?
Right here.
What offering could I bring?
And I noticed it was kind of muddying up that vocal a lot. So I actually took that and brought it down just a touch. And not a whole bunch, but about like 3-ish dB.
What offering could I bring?
And then there was that boxy sound as well. So right here, we have right around 800 hertz.
What offering could I bring?
There's that boxy sound that was kind of being created during this recording.
What offering could I bring?
And this is what the boxy sound sounds like by itself.
Worthy of my King.
Kind of sounds like a telephone in a way. So what I like to do is I also like to cut that as well. So far, I'm cutting 270-ish hertz and 800 hertz by 800 hertz by around 3 to 4 dB each. And I'm kind of giving that some clarity down there on the low end.
What offering could I?
So far we have, without it,
What offering
and with it,
could I bring?
tons of stuff. So already cleaning it up a lot just with a few moves. Do you notice how making just some small but intentional moves helps a ton? So let's jump back into this. So now I have this frequency here, which is kind of like a resonant frequency. I'll show you. So it was like a whistle right up here around 3.6-ish, almost 4K. It's another one of those magic frequencies that just get in the way a lot, or they can help a lot. In this case, it was getting in the way of that vocal.
Could I bring?
So that's me turning it up. It's a little bit exaggerated. So you can hear that whistle. So I ended up turning this down by around -5 dB, and that's 3.6-ish, right around 4K at -5 dB. And so far we have it sounding like this.
Could I bring?
Now that's sounding really, really good, but I just want to bring up a little bit of those highs. So I'm going to take this like this, crank it way up here, and just try to get some sparkle and some shine out of that vocal.
What offering could I bring?
So once again, no EQ.
What offering could I bring?
With an EQ.
That's worthy of my King.
So I have made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves, and I have completely changed the character of this vocal. I've completely eliminated a lot of those woofy sounds, a lot of the low end, and I've given it some shine and some shimmer back in. So that's that corn. Now we can actually add the second one, which is a compressor. So now I kind of want to level everything out. Now that I've gotten a really good vocal sound, and I like to do EQ first, and you could do compression first if you like, but for me, I like to use EQ first most of the time. I clean up the vocal, and then I compress it. So compression is really just a super fast volume knob. Essentially, at its core, it's a super fast volume knob. It's turning down the loud parts and then bringing everything else up to kind of squish it all together. I like to think of compression as mom in the car. When it gets a little loud, she reaches over and turns down the volume a little bit. And then once it gets quiet, you reach over and kind of crank it back up a little bit again. That's essentially what compression is doing. So here, I want to tame these peaks because look at this. The vocals, by their very nature, are super, super dynamic. So if we take a look at these vocals here, you could see that there's some peaks and there's some valleys. Like, look at that distance here.
Once was lost, will now forever see.
So you can see those peaks and valleys that's happening along these vocals. And by nature, vocals are super dynamic. So this is a good thing, but we want to get control over these peaks. We kind of want to take them and level them out just a little bit. Like this one's really bad here.
My King.
That my King, that right there is just, it needs to get tamed just a little bit. So next up, I throw a compressor on, and my entire goal with this compressor is just to tame the peaks.
That's worthy of my King.
And so I want to shoot for right around -2 to 3-ish dB of gain reduction. And I have a 5-ish to 1 ratio. 4 to 5-ish ratio is perfect. And so then I'm going to bring down the threshold until I'm getting a roughly -3 dB of gain reduction.
That's worthy of my King.
So right there, that my
King.
So you can see I'm getting around -3 dB of gain reduction right there.
My King.
And then in the makeup gain, I'm turning it back up by 3 dB to make sure that everything stays the same. So 3 dB being turned down, and then 3 dB, everything else is getting turned up. So it's kind of compressing that vocal a little bit. That is the first compressor, and yes, I'll be stacking compressors, and I'll show you that you can actually plant more plants in that little plot or add more plugins in a row, and I'll show you what that is. It's all about stacking. So here, the next thing we have is some red light distortion. This is a stock plugin, and by the way, I'm using stock plugins entirely in this. This is a stock plugin inside of Studio One, but all DAWs have a similar form of distortion or overdrive or something. And so here I have set it soft tube, just a little bit of distortion, and I'm looking to saturate and add some grit to that vocal. So let's play this part over here.
That once was lost will now forever sing. That once was lost will.
So listen to that when it's off.
That once was lost
on.
Will now forever sing. That
Off.
Once was lost will now
on.
Forever sing.
It's kind of bringing it up in volume because it's adding more frequencies along the spectrum. So we just cleaned it up. We just compressed it, and now we want to bring some frequencies back in, but make it sound super natural. And this is one thing that a lot of people miss. A lot of people go straight for EQ, or they go straight for compression. And while those two will get you a great mix, saturation is that one thing that you're probably lacking to make it sound super rich and full. And once you hear it, you'll never be able to go back. So now we have some saturation. So far, we have EQ, cleaning up the vocal here. We have some compression, taming those peaks, and then we have red light distortion, adding it back in. Those are the three sisters. One last thing I want to add is I want to really slam this vocal and get it sounding super loud. You don't always have to do this, but I like to add a second compressor to really level everything else out. I'm just making essentially a brick of a waveform here, especially in the style of this track. So let me show you what this sounds like.
That once was
and then on.
Lost will now forever sing.
Off.
That once was lost will now forever sing.
So I'm really slamming this one, and I'm turning the volume up a bit to get it to set in the mix just a little bit better. So this compressor I have set at a 16:1 ratio, which is a lot of compression. I'm bringing the threshold down until I'm really slamming like -6 dB on that vocal, and then the attack and release are right around the middle. So as I'm getting still a little bit of that pump into that vocal and making it sound super full. And then I'm turning the makeup gain until it sounds good in the mix. I understand that this is turning everything up, and a lot of people want to see that like before and after with no additional volume. I'm adding volume with this compressor. That's one of my goals. And so that's what I'm looking for out of this. So I'm really leveling that out. So with it off,
That once was
with it on.
lost will now forever sing.
Notice how the vocal immediately went from here to like here, right next to your face. It really brought it in and tightened it all up. And those are the only 4 plugins I'm using on this vocal. Take a listen.
That's worthy of my King. That once was lost will now forever sing. So we thank you, Jesus.
So it's sounding really good. It's in the mix, but here's the problem. It's sounding like it's separate from the rest of the tracks. Have you ever mixed something and it sounds like it's awkwardly sitting alongside the track and it's not a part of the song? It's just like plopped on top of the song. Has anybody had that experience? Let me know down in the chat below. This is a common problem that lots of people have, and they're not using effects properly. And I'll show you how to do that. So let me know down in the chat below if you have struggled with something like that before. Give me a thumbs up or whatever to let me know that you've been struggling with this, and your vocals sometimes sound like they're awkwardly sitting alongside the song and they're not actually blending in. Reverse says, yes, OMG. Yes. Got another yes. Matthew says, yes. Mark says, so true. Kevin, yes. Great stuff. Yeah, so this is a common issue. I always have that experience. Curtis, definitely. Wayne says, yes, always. Kathy says, yes. Troy says, mind-blowing. Thanks, bro. Michael says, sad but true. Love it. Love it. Thomas says, yes. Harold, yes. Thumbs up. All right, we're good. We're good. So this is definitely a problem that a lot of people have. So I want to also show that I did the same thing with everything else. All of these other vocals here, all of these other main vocals, I used EQ, compression, red light distortion, and then the second compressor. And I essentially copied and pasted the same thing over because it's the same guy. Brendan did all of these vocals. Shout out to Brendan, killer vocalist. And he did all these vocals, and so I was able to just copy and paste it. Once I had a solid sound, I just copied and pasted all of those plugins to everything else here. And so that's the only 4 plugins that I'm using, and it's sounding really, really good so far, even during the chorus.
Oh, my hope in you. You're my anchor, and I know that I will not be moved.
So it's sounding good, but it's still not blending in with the track. That's where effects come in to place. This is super important. A lot of people miss this, or they don't get it right, or they add too much, or they don't add enough. This is really important, so pay attention. Here, we're going to take these vocals, and I have them all sent to this vocal effects bus over here. So all of these vocals are being sent to this bus. Look it up in your DAW to figure out how exactly to send those vocals to the bus or to a separate bus. But the reason why we want it on a separate track is because we want to be able to blend the reverbs and delays along with it. So here we have, first things first, is a bit of analog delay. And yes, again, I'm using stock plugins, and every DAW has a form of these stock plugins. You can get great sounding vocal mixes with the plugins you have. So here I have a little bit of delay, and I'm blending this in at about 50%. I could turn it up all the way at 100% because this is the vocal effects bus, but I like to set it at 50% because I like to add a reverb after it, and I'll show you exactly how that works here in just a second. So here we have the vocals.
Let all these people say that.
So now let's turn the delay on, and I have it at about an 1/8 quarter note delay here, or sorry, an 1/8 note delay.
Let all these people say that we have been set free.
and then I'm just blending that in along with it. So now, right after the delay, I also have a bit of room reverb as well. And a lot of people separate their delays and reverbs. I don't. I like to do it this way 99% of the time. I just blend my delays into my reverbs. And the reason is, every time the delay hits, it gives that reverb an extra tail, allows it to drag it out a little bit. So after that, the delay goes into the reverb, and it's giving it this sound now.
Let all these people say that we have been set free.
And so I'm having the reverb being affected by the main vocal because we're still allowing 50% to go through. And then I also have 50% of the reverb going through. So there still is that main vocal that's being copied over, but it's being blended with delay and reverb. And this is how I get my vocals to actually sound like they're a part of the track and not just awkwardly sitting alongside it. So then the next thing is, people want to add too much or not enough. So adjust your reverb and delay to taste. The length is how long the reverb is, how long that tail is. And then the analog delay is that time, how many times it repeats and during beats. And then the feedback is how many times it does it. So just play around with it. It's going to be different for every song because every song has a different tempo and a different swing and a different feel to it. So now that we have it here on the bus, which a bus is just that separate track, I'm sending all of these vocals to that bus. Imagine it's just splitting the vocal out into two. So this separate section of vocals is going to the main section, and then I have the effects going over here. I'm able to split my signal with a bus. Now, what I do is I like to turn it down all the way, and then I like to play it in the context of the mix, and then I will blend it back in. So I just kind of keep pushing it up until I hear it.
For a love that never changes. Let all these people say that we have been set free. For a love that never changes.
So I turn it up just till I can about hear it in the track, and then maybe down just a touch. But I like to leave it all the way down and then bring it up until I can start to barely hear it in the track. So let me just say that one more time right here, and I'm going to mute this and then turn it back on. And listen to how the vocals actually allow it to sit in the mix better just by adding those reverbs and delays. It sounds like it's part of the song and not just awkwardly sitting alongside it. So with it muted.
So we thank you, Jesus.
Now with it.
For a love that never changes.
Without.
Let all these people say
And with it.
that we have been set free. Oh, my hope in you. You're my anchor and I know.
Has anybody had a light bulb moment during the mixing process and adding effects? This makes a big, big difference. Kevin says, wow, awesome. Wow, we got great comments coming in. You can see what you're affecting better. Oh, yeah, for the bus. Yep, great stuff. Great stuff, yes. So far, this is the entire mix. And I'm going to show you a before and after of what we've done so far together. So we have all the vocals, which, by the way, the background vocals, I also have as compression, EQ, and a little bit of compression. And I didn't even add saturation for the background vocals because I didn't even think it was necessary. But I'm still doing the same three-sister technique, and the background vocals are just adding a little bit of those harmonies in with it. Okay, so I'm doing the exact same thing, just with a different set and a different style of plugins. So let's break down everything that I've done so far. And let me show you how far we've come today. So right here, I'm going to show you everything here.
Oh, my hope in you. You're my
This is what we started with.
anchor, and I know that I will not be
This is where we are now.
moved.
Without,
And I put my trust in you.
with.
You're the only one that's ever gonna pull me through. Oh, oh.
Just a reminder, we did everything with the three sisters and the effects. Everything has been done with the Three Sisters in the effects, and I used stock plugins on that entire lead vocal mix. I even used the stock plugins for the bus. There's no excuses. Every single DAW has these plugins. Has anybody had a light bulb moment? We got Fredo says, wow. We got Beck that says, those harmonies are tasty. Yes, they are. Nico says, well, oh, thank you. Andy says, the effects bus was a new one for me. Awesome. Yes. Adding a bus really helps and makes a big, big difference because you can actually blend it and actually have control over it. Great, great stuff. Nice. Good job, man. That was good. Sound easy, huh? Yep. We got tons more. So just wait. Just wait. So far, just one more time, I want to break this down. This is what we started with.
Oh, my hope in you.
And this is where we're at now.
You're my anchor, and I know that I will not be moved. And I put my trust in you.
And then in the context of the mix.
Oh, my hope in you. You're my anchor, and I know that I will not be moved. And I put my trust in you. You're the only one that's ever gonna pull me through. Oh, oh.
Awesome, awesome. Yep, Scott says, happens to me all the time. Beck says, dang, that was a night and day difference. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Great, great stuff. Great stuff. Philip says, great stuff. I love it. I love it. Great, great stuff. I'll get to questions towards the end here in just a second. But so far, I want to break down what we've done so far. Now, so far in this presentation, we've covered the 3 myths keeping you from starting, how to record a pro-sounding vocal in any room of your house, the 3 sister plugins necessary for every vocal mix, and using effects to blend your vocals into your song so it's not just awkwardly sitting alongside it. And while everything I've given you today is valuable, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Now, would you agree that your time has been well spent so far? If you feel like you've learned a ton and your time here with me has been spent so far, let me know down in the chat below. Give me a bunch of thumbs up. Hollywood at Home says, bro, I've literally heard this song in so many of your videos. I found myself singing it because of how catchy it is. Yes, it's great, great stuff. Great stuff. Awesome. The effects are adding more clarity to the mix. I love it. Yes, they are. Tons. Beck says, absolutely. Bro Fishin says, yes. Mason says, yes. Matthew, thumbs up. Great indeed. Oh, a bunch of thumbs up. Great stuff. Jan, Curtis, Harold, Brendan. Love it. Love it. Love it. Great, great stuff. I love to see it. Love to see it. If you've liked what I shared with you so far, you're going to love what I have for you next. You see, before doing this presentation today, I was faced with one of 2 choices. The first option is part ways with you and then hope that, on your own, you could figure it all out yourself. Or my second option, I could take a more active role and responsibility in your success and create a win-win situation. I chose the second option. As a result of doing this for myself and other artists successfully for over a decade, I built a system to replicate my success for others. And so it's with great pleasure to introduce you to 10-Day Music Producer. With this system, you'll wield the 8 methods to turn any song idea in your head into a professional production ready to release to the world. So here's what you're going to get. If you're someone who struggles to write songs or finish the ones you've started, or you have tons of 8-bar loops sitting on your hard drive and never finish them, listen up. I made this just for you. Songwriting Simplified. Most people get stuck at not knowing where to start, thinking they need to know music theory to be a good songwriter, not understanding what makes a catchy melody, or having tons of 8-bar loops but no finished songs. There's a system to simplify it. There is a simple math to writing melodies. There's a way to hook your listeners and keep them singing along, and how to finish your 8-bar loops into fully written songs. Knowing how to write a song is arguably one of the most valuable skills in the music industry, which I value today at only a fraction of my investment of time and money at $97. So that's the first thing you're going to get. Oh, I've got more. If you're someone who struggles to get professional sounding recordings, this is for you. The Recording Framework. Most people think they need a multi-million-dollar studio to get professional recordings, or they need expensive gear, or they need hundreds of dollars of acoustic treatment in a custom-built room. That's not true. There's a framework to quiet a room without acoustic treatment, to capture a great performance no matter the instrument or vocalist, and how to make any room sound like a pro studio. Just knowing how to get a killer sounding source with 10x your mixes while doing nothing else, which I value today at only a fraction of my investment of time and money at $197. So you're going to get songwriting simplified and you're going to get the recording framework. Total value, $294. Now, if you're someone who struggles to flesh out a song and is frustrated that it doesn't sound like a radio-ready record, listen up. I made this just for you. The Producer's Playbook. Most people believe they need tons of plugins, synths, and samples, or they need tons of people producing it with them, or they need years of experience to even get to a decent level. That's just not true. There is a playbook to produce any song to a radio-ready level, to add layers to any track to give it depth and life, and to contrast to any production without sounding like a jumbled mess of tracks. You could just do what I teach in the Producer's Playbook, and you could 10, 50, or even 100x the quality of your music overnight, which I value today at only a fraction of my investment of time and money at $397. So you're going to get songwriting simplified, you're going to get the recording framework, you're also going to get the Producer's Playbook. Total value, $691. I've got more. If you're someone who struggles to get the sound in your head into a synth, or you wish you could tweak a preset but have no idea what you're doing, then you are going to love this. The Sound Design Cookbook. Most people believe they need to spend hundreds of dollars on preset packs, or they need to dedicate their entire life to sound design to even get good. That's not true. There is a cookbook to the most popular sounds on any synth, and a simple system to turn any sound in your head into a real-life synth sound that you can play on a keyboard immediately. When you get the sound in someone's head into a real-life patch that they can play in a synth, you blow their minds, which I value today at only a fraction of my investment of time and money at $197. So you're going to get songwriting simplified, you're going to get the recording framework, you're going to get the Producer's Playbook, and you're going to get the Sound Design Cookbook. Total value, $888. Now, if you're someone who is frustrated that they can't nail the mix, and you spend countless hours tweaking knobs and never getting it right, then this is for you. Mixing frameworks. Most producers struggle to get a polished mix, spend way more time aimlessly tweaking knobs with little success, and underestimate the power of a great mix. Listen, here's the harsh truth. Your song sits right next to other incredible mixes on Spotify. Your mix is compared to someone else's by default. There is a framework to the most popular tools used for mixing, to dissecting popular mixes and recreating them for yourself, and to nail the mix every single time. While getting your songs to sound the way they deserve is priceless, and I've spent over a decade honing this skill, I value it today at only a fraction of my investment of time and money at $297. So you're going to get songwriting simplified, you're going to get the recording framework, you're going to get the Producer's Playbook, you're going to get the Sound Design Cookbook, and you're going to get mixing frameworks. Total value, $1185. Now, if you're someone who feels like their music isn't as loud and full as everything else is on Spotify, then this is for you. Mastering frameworks. Mastering is the final step in the process before your song hits streaming services. And like I said before, you cannot give your listeners audio whiplash when they're listening to another song and to your song on Spotify back to back. The playlistification of Spotify is changing the music industry, and you need to make sure that your music is being compared properly. There is a framework to the most popular tools used for mastering, to loud and full masters while still maintaining dynamics. Mastering can take your song to a radio-ready level within minutes, which I value today at only a fraction of my investment of time and money at $197. So you're going to get songwriting simplified, you're going to get the recording frameworks, you're going to get the Producer's Playbook, you're also going to get the Sound Design Cookbook, mixing frameworks, and mastering frameworks. Total value, $1382. Now, I could have just stopped here, but I don't just want to hear, but I don't just want your music sounding incredible. I want everyone to hear what you've created. So if you're someone who gets less than 1,000 streams on your music, and your only fans are you and your mom, love you, Mom, listen up. I made this just for you. The Billboard Blueprint. There's a blueprint to getting your music heard by more than just your mom, even though we love you, Mom, to using free social media strategies to generate loyal fans of your music, and to making a decent side income from your music as an independent artist. This could change your life, which I value today at only a fraction of my investment of time and money at $297. So here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the songwriting simplified, you're going to get the recording frameworks, you're going to get the Producer's Playbook, you're going to get the Sound Design Cookbook, you're going to get mixing frameworks, you're going to get mastering frameworks, and you're going to get the Billboard Blueprint. Total value, $1679. Now you have all the tools to get your music made and heard. But what if you're someone who wants to produce music for other artists and make a side income from it? Pay attention. I made this just for you. Freelance frameworks. There's a framework to turning free work into paid work while keeping your dignity, to getting new clients every single month, and to making a decent side income in only a few hours a week. In fact, this framework is so powerful. It's given me the financial freedom to allow my wife to stay home with our newborn son. I can honestly say these frameworks have changed my life, which I value today only a fraction of my investment of time and money at $597. So here's what you're going to get. You're going to get songwriting simplified. You're going to get the recording frameworks. You're going to get the producer's playbook. You're going to get the sound design cookbook. You're going to get mixing frameworks. You're going to get mastering frameworks. You're also going to get the Billboard blueprint, and you're going to get freelance frameworks. Total value, $2276. This system will give you more value than a single $3,000 mic, and it will give you hilariously more value than a $100,000 four-year degree. But if all this program did was turn the song in your head into a professional sounding production, or get your music sounding like you made it professionally in a multi-million-dollar studio, or bring in a side income that allowed your spouse to quit their job or give you an extra vacation a year, would it be worth it? You could see why this is a great deal at $997, just a fraction of the total cost. But because you took time to watch this webinar with me today, and because I want to make this affordable for more people, but still make it an investment, you can get all of this. You can get all of this for only a single payment of $297 today. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. There's more. The bonus private producer community. Imagine a private Facebook group, but with no ads, only us. You can share your music and get feedback from myself and other music producers. Here is PG Brown sharing all of his stuff inside of the program. I even host live Zoom meetups every month where I listen to your music and give you custom feedback. So you can get all of this, almost $3,000 worth of value, for just a single payment of $297 today. So here's what you need to do next. Click the Get Started button below and complete the checkout process. Or if you are on YouTube currently, you can click the button that I have a pinned message down in the chat. Check your email, and then you can begin your journey. Now, for everyone wondering what I'm giving all of you who attended today, first, I want to say thank you for spending your time with me today. You are truly amazing. As a way of saying thank you for being here, I'm going to give you the Golden Frequencies EQ mini course absolutely free. Remember earlier when I was talking about the golden frequencies and how important it is? This mini course is a complete masterclass on EQ and how I use the golden frequencies to enhance every single track in my mix. I haven't done a mix in 4 years without using these things. I could sell this easily for $500, but I'm going to give it to everybody here who attended today. There's no need to do anything. It will be in your inbox within the hour. This is only for those registered for this event will get the mini course. I'm doing this so next time I say be here, it'll be worth it. Everyone will believe me. Now you have two choices. Option 1, do nothing, not take this leap of faith, and lose time and money aimlessly figuring this out for yourself. Or option 2, invest this small amount in yourself today compared to the amount of value you're getting in return and change your life. And if it works, great. If not, just ask for your money back and I'll rush it back to you. No questions asked. I have a 100% 30-day money-back guarantee. I like to call it my bear fight guarantee. If you wouldn't wrestle a bear to get this course and all of the bonuses back, then I don't deserve your money, period. This is truly no risk to you. In fact, it puts all the risk on me, exposing my proven strategies and tactics to create killer mixes and still giving you the opportunity to say no thanks at any time. So the real question is it worth gambling just a little bit of your time to potentially have a system for getting radio-ready music for the rest of your life? There's two types of people. Those that make things happen in their music journey, and those that watch others make things happen for themselves. Which one are you? Click Get Started down below, or click the link that's pinned in the chat if you're on YouTube, and you can get enrolled today into 10-Day Music Producer. The price is going up. Because you're on this webinar, you're able to get access to this for $297, but the price is going up. So if you want in, now's the time to get in. It'll be $397 for the public pretty soon. And for those of you looking for the stems, you can go to producinginthebox.com/stems, and you can download those for free and actually replicate what we did inside of the webinar today. Great to see everybody here. Thank you so much. That free mini course will be in your inbox within the hour. So make sure you check that out there. It's been 4 years worth of work I've put into those frequencies that I've really just found and honed. And it's a complete masterclass on EQ. You're going to absolutely love it. So how's everybody feeling? We got Troy that says, wow, what a deal. Have you lost your mind? I think so. I'm giving lifetime access to a community forever. So I probably have lost my mind. Philip says, thank you and stay blessed. Broficient says, thank you, man. Beck says, thank you. Alex says, unreal value. Jan says, thanks for the knowledge. Great stuff. Wow, what a deal. Yes. It was worth staying up until 4 a.m., I reckon. Yes, I hope so. I'd punch a bear for the EQ course. This is pretty awesome. Thank you. Harold says, thank you. God bless you, bro. Yes, thank you so much. Great stuff. Kathy Wilson says, thank you. Thomas says, thank you. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Thank you guys so much for being here. Click the Get Started button down below to get started. And I cannot wait to see what you do with your music. So now I want to jump into a couple questions, and I really want to make sure that everything was clear. Does anybody have any questions today about the entire process from start to finish, from recording the vocals to mixing the vocals? There was one question that I saw in there that I really wanted to answer. And the one question was, what is a bus? A bus is where you split the channel out into separate sections. So imagine you send your vocals to, so you record your vocals and then you send them to the main output. Then you can actually have a tail that splits off, almost like making an exact copy of your vocal, and then you can do separate processing to that and blend it in. So you're getting the raw vocal and you're getting the processed vocal blended in. That's a bus. If you use Studio One, you can literally just click Add Bus or Add Effects Channel on the mixer. If you're not using Studio One, every single DAW has a bus feature. So just Google it, learn how to use it, and I almost always add reverbs and delays and stuff like that on the bus. And so nothing was added to the lead bus at all. Absolutely nothing. So let me actually bring this back in here like this. This right here is the entire track. I have nothing on the lead bus at all. The only reason I have this bus is so I can send all of the vocals to my reverbs and delays. I'm not processing anything here at all. And the next question was, what's on the master? So right here, I have Slate Digital. It's just a limiter. I'm literally just adding volume to this. That's it. I'm adding a volume to this, so there's a volume boost, so it sounds good. That's the only thing I'm doing on the master bus. This would not be typical of me. This would not be typical. I would actually have an entire mastering chain, but to really prove the power of those 3 plugins and using them properly, I wanted to show you with nothing else. And so the only other plugin that I have on the master bus is called Restream. It's how I'm getting my audio from the DAW to you guys listening. So those are the plugins on the master channel. So where's the Get Started button on YouTube? Let me get started here, and then I'll add the link here. Whoop. And then it's pinned. So it'll be the pinned comment. So you can just click on the pinned comment there, and you can get started there. So any other questions? How about the plugins on the master channel? Oh, yeah, we went over that. Lead vocal was recorded stereo using a single mic. No, it was not. So a vocal is a mono source. Record it in vocal, leave it at that. There's almost no reason to ever have a vocal recorded in stereo or a stereo channel. The reason why it's in stereo is because when I rendered all the stems out, it rendered it out in stereo. But it's the same thing, so it doesn't matter. It's literally, even though it's a stereo track, it's still a mono source and mono signal. It doesn't matter. So yeah, it was recorded in mono, and vocals are a mono source, singular source. So just record it in mono, and you're going to be just fine. Is this video still going to be available on your YouTube channel after the event? Yeah, I'm going to be sending everybody a replay to this event who registered. So if you're not on my email list, make sure you get on my email list, and I will send this replay to everyone on my list. So you're gonna be able to enjoy this. You're gonna be able to copy exactly what I did here. It's gonna be great. When do you add Melodyne? Great question, John. I add Melodyne right at the beginning of the track before I do anything else. So the vocals that I'm sending you, the only thing, or so when you download the stems, the only thing that's on these vocals are auto-tune. So I have a little bit of Melodyne and a little bit of auto-tune to kind of tighten the tuning up on the vocals. That's it. That's it. I've done no EQ. I've done no compression. I have no outboard gear. Nothing. So the only thing is I tune it. And I always tune it first. So you tune the vocal first, and then you add the three sisters, the EQ, compression, and saturation. Ooh, this is a great one. Great one. How do you recommend creating a pop-up audio environment for tracking vocals at remote sites where we can't set up room treatment? I love this question. This is a great one. So what I personally like to do is I like to get, you can get them on Amazon. They're like a few bucks on Amazon. And I like to get those clothing racks that you can get, those portable clothing racks. Like if you have it, because I had a studio apartment. It's like the only way I could hang stuff for the longest time. And so like that's what I used. And so I would take that, and I would put one here, and then I would raise them up as much as I could, and then I would put moving blankets over top, creating my own vocal booth. And it worked really, really well. And sometimes I would set one in the front, one behind, however that worked. But you can create your own vocal booth. And then you could fold it down, throw it in the back of your car, and fold up the blankets, and it's like literally nothing. So if you're somebody who is living in an apartment and you don't have your own studio set up, and you can't hang anything on the walls like acoustic treatment, the pop-up acoustic treatment's the best way. And then when I do, like, very rarely I'll do like location recording. I do a lot, but when I do that, then I will actually use the pop-up acoustic treatment technique. But I hung stuff up on my wall, so I didn't have to do that anymore. But you can get an almost identical source from it. So will you be able to ask questions through your community? Yeah, I am like in there answering questions, listening to music. You send your music into the community, and I listen to it, and I give feedback. And so people have been like, hey, what about this? And I'm there. And so, yeah, it's literally like us getting in a Facebook group together. So, yeah, I'm always in it. So if anybody has any questions or anything like that, and you can actually private message me in the group as well. It's really, really cool. The group is like the one thing that I felt like was missing from the actual education, because like watching all the videos is great. Getting the education's great. Getting all the downloads, the presets, the stems, all that stuff's great, right? And getting that system. But like, I wanted to make sure that there was like a buddy system that we could help each other out and actually make sure that we're getting the results we're looking for. Because it's one thing to know. I was actually just talking to a good friend of mine earlier today, and he said, I know what to do. I just got to do it. And that's exactly what the community's for. It's to help you there so that you can actually do it. So, did you record the vocals direct into an interface, and which interface was it? No external preamp or external compressor? Yeah, Brendan already answered the question. By the way, Brendan's here. He's the vocalist on this track. Phenomenal vocalist. So, it's XLR cable into the Audient ID14. It's like a $300-$400-ish interface. It's great. You don't need it. You can do it with the Focusrite. You can get an almost identical result with the Focusrite. I used to have the Behringer Euphoria series, like those little $100 ones, before, and I was getting great stuff with it then. So, Queensland Tiger says, did you cover the question I asked you by email about the sibilance with a new ribbon mic of mine? The sibilance is less using the proximity effect, more when you back off. Yeah, okay, so this is really interesting. I did not answer the question here, but I'll answer it now. Sibilance is really, really interesting. And this is really, really good to test yourself. So sibilance is all those S sounds. Here's the thing. That only has one volume. There's like no dynamics with those S sounds. You can go s, s. You can try to go s as loud as you can, but you can only go so far. But yet I can shout as loud as I possibly want until I, bust my vocal cords or something. And so there's so much dynamic in my vocals. But in those sibilances, s, there's not nearly as much. And so with those sibilances, ribbon mics typically pick up in a figure 8 pattern. And so there's a sweet spot when picking up in a ribbon mic. And in any mic there is. So you want to pay attention to your pickup pattern. And the thing is, sibilances can bounce around the room and reflect back. And they're almost going to be the same sound and same volume every time you sing, even if you're singing quieter or singing louder, which is why using a de-esser might be necessary sometimes if a vocal is just a little bit too sibilant. Sometimes you have to do that. So yeah, sibilance is less using the proximity effect, more when you back off. That's because when you're backing off, the main part of your vocals is actually being turned down. And remember that proximity effect, like I was talking about earlier, where the low end gets enhanced the closer you are to the microphone. That ratio between those high frequencies, those s, and the low frequencies are now skewed. And so by default, it's going to sound like those are a lot louder. So yeah, you can replicate that and do that there. So yeah, great stuff. Yeah, the community is awesome. It's so helpful, and if anyone can help, they will. They've helped me. I try to help them. Yes. We have some great people in the community already, and so yeah, it's a great time, and I absolutely love it. So another question. The people are talking about the phase alignment. Does Studio One have something to phase align audio tracks? I'm not aware of a plugin that automatically phase aligns stuff, but you can flip the polarities inside of Studio One. So here, if you look up on the mixer part here, and you might have to turn the tools on, input controls there. So yeah, if you're not seeing these input controls, you're gonna have to go up to the tools and then click input controls. And then here is the ability to flip the polarities. And so if you're having phase alignment, if you're recording something in stereo and it's out of phase, just try flipping one or the other. Just give that a shot and whatnot. But phase alignment shouldn't be an issue if you recorded it properly. Yeah, just give that a shot, see if it sounds better or worse. If not, you can actually manually phase align stuff by actually like moving it out. And so how this works actually is it's really interesting. Let me break it down here. So all waveforms look like this. You have ups and downs. Up peak, down peak, up peak, down peak. What happens is when the up peak is happening on the same source and there's a down peak happening, they cancel each other out. That's called phase alignment issue, or that's called phasing, and it can actually completely make a track disappear. Oh man, this is cool. Let me show you this. So I'm going to duplicate his vocals here real quick, and I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to duplicate it. So here's the thing. Now I'm going to turn on these vocals, and you can listen to it here.
You're the only.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the phase of just one of these, and it's going to completely disappear, even though I'm playing it. Check this out. It's gone. Absolutely gone. Because it's completely phase shifted itself out. That's because the polarity switch actually turns that up part on that waveform into a down part, making it completely disappear entirely. So sometimes you can just try flipping the phase and trying to get that to work. But yeah, that's what phasing is in a nutshell, and that's how it works, and that's how to fix it if you start having issues. So any more questions? Can you please explain more on how you're routing the signals and the signal is moving? I don't know if I'm asking the correct things. I totally get it. I think that if I'm not mistaken, you're asking about how I'm doing the bus. So let me show you. So here I have all of these vocals right here. They're going to a bus called lead vocals. And then down here in the sends, I just click plus, and then I click send or add effects channel, which is just a bus. It automatically creates it in Studio One, and here it is. So all of these vocals right here go to the main bus, lead vox bus. And then from here, I have it sent to the vocal effects. All right. So you might have to slow it down. The bus is kind of confusing, and so I'll have to make a video on that to really explain the bus properly. But what you're doing is just splitting the channel. So here's your lead vocals, and then you're splitting the channel and creating a new lead vocal over here that you can add effects to. It's a lot of fun. Matthew says, did you double track the vocals for panning? Yes, I did. So here is the main vocal, the left vocal, and the right vocal. So let's listen to this.
You're the only one that's ever gonna pull me through. Oh.
So you can see these main vocals here are doubled. So there's that left and the right. Make sure you're listening on headphones and whatnot. So I'm going to mute these, and he recorded each one of these separately. He's a phenomenal vocalist and was able to get this super tight. You have to make sure if you're going to do doubles, you got to get them tight, like my man Brendan. But when you do doubles, you have one main, and then you have one left and one right, and they're all separate recorded tracks. You can't just duplicate it down. And so this is what they sound like with the doubles.
Oh, my hope in you.
Without the doubles.
You're my anchor,
and then
I
width.
know that I will not be moved.
And it just gives it some width and some depth in the mix. And I only duplicated that, or not duplicate, I only had him double track the choruses. The verses and whatnot are just one single mono vocal. And these are all mono tracks too. You just have one pan to the left, one pan to the right, and that's it. All right, so we got holy cow, eureka moment. Love it. I think it was Audient ID14 MK2. I'm not totally sure. Yeah, it's the Audient ID14. I have the MK1, the first generation. The MK2 is the same price, and it's better. I probably should upgrade. But it's working now, so I kind of leave it. I had a moment where it wasn't working. It was super weird, but yeah, now it's great. So, Andrew, your stuff is always so thumbs up. I love that. Yeah, on the lead vocal, did you duplicate the track or did you sing it twice? He sang it multiple times. You can't just duplicate the vocal. It just makes it louder. It does nothing for you. And even if you pan it off to the side, it's nothing because it's the same vocal. There's no nuances there. Those little mistakes and nuances that we make as humans, like a slightly different way of singing it, is what creates that really nice stereo effect. And Brendan actually, he's so stinking good at it that I didn't even time align these vocals here.
Oh, my hope in you.
I use no vocal line or anything like that. That's just him.
You're my anchor, and I know that I will not be moved.
He's freaking nuts. Yeah. But yeah, so if you're not like real tight like that, you can actually like slip the audio around to tighten it up just a little bit. So great stuff. The song is deep in my heart. When I hear Brendan, I get that holy vibe. Me too, boy. Me too. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So do you have your own custom hotkeys for Studio One? I do. If that's something you guys are interested in, I can send you a sheet over and whatnot. Just shoot me an email at producingthebox.com producingthebox@gmail.com, and I'll send you over my custom keyboard shortcuts. It's similar to Logic because I came from Logic. But I'm slowly still learning the actual Studio One ones because when I make YouTube videos about Studio One, I have to like know the actual keyboard shortcuts for Studio One. So yeah, that's important. I've never had much luck with de-essers. Is there something to know about them that's not obvious? Yeah. Don't go too much with them. Like if you have a vocal that's super sibilant, don't go too much with it. Like maybe just try to re-record the vocal and try to be less sibilant. Maybe try to adjust the mic position. Try to catch sibilance elsewhere besides just slapping on a de-esser. De-essers are compressors, but only for the high end. So they turn that high end down. And the problem is they only kick in. I mean, that's not a problem, but they only kick in when that hits. But the problem is I haven't found a single one that sounds realistic, except for, or transparent, except for the DBX902 emulation inside of Slate Digital stuff. That's a really good sounding de-esser. And then the stock Studio One de-esser works really, really well too. You just got to be careful. Don't go too far with it because it just starts to sound bad. Someone said, do you use Studio One as your DAW in the lessons for your courses? I do. But I teach you everything with multiple different plugins and multiple different scenarios. So no matter what DAW you're using, it's the same thing. I'm actually adding inside of 10-Day Producer, Cubase is another very popular DAW. And so people want me to teach Cubase. So I'm going to be adding modules inside of Cubase or for Cubase inside of 10-Day Music Producer as well. So that way we can actually get that like multiple DAWs. I'd love to add Logic and probably Pro Tools and Ableton. I'm not much of a Pro Tools fan myself. I don't use it very often, but I'm pretty fluent in Ableton, FL Studio, Studio One, Logic, and Cubase. And so Studio One and Cubase are my two favorites, though. I absolutely love those two DAWs, and they're very similar. So I'm going to be adding Cubase stuff here pretty soon. But yeah, Studio One's what I teach in entirely. But you can literally just copy and paste what I do inside of whatever other DAW you use. It's the same principles. The interface, yeah, once again, is the Audient ID14. It sounded great, but you could do it with a $100 one. It's great. Awesome. Thanks for all the info. Do you use a template for voice mixing? No, not really. Every vocal is a little bit different. I have presets. And I use presets to get me very, very close. Like Brendan sings over here a lot. We record a lot of stuff. So I have presets for Brendan that I just throw on and we're good to go. But besides that, yeah, that's it. So I don't really use templates for that. I use templates for producing music though. And inside of 10-Day Producer, I actually break down templates and how to actually make your own templates. It's super, super key. But I use it to produce music because I want to actually get into the DAW and like have the DAW disappear. I don't want to think of like what I'm going to use. I just want to be able to open it and just have great sounds immediately. Awesome. Brendan says it's best to experiment and find out what works for you and your artist. Yes, it is. We usually record raw and add after. There's a touch of EQ and compression. Yes, exactly. Studio One artist, Prime or professional? That's professional. I use professional. I bought Studio One, like the full license outright, and then they had extra bonuses inside of the Studio One Plus. It used to be called Persona Sphere, and now it's Studio One Plus, and it's like I think it's like $20 a month. It's fantastic. I love it. It is like the best thing I spend money on. I absolutely love it. So I still have the physical license, but I also pay for the subscription of it too because I loved it. The mic used in these recordings is either the SM7B or the ML1. It's one of the two. I cannot remember which one we used. It may have been long enough ago that we used it's the Shure SM7B. Yes, the one. Phenomenal sounding mic. I think it's like one of the best mics. I want to be careful how I say this. It's the best dynamic microphone under $500. Period. It's just phenomenal. It always works. It always sounds good. We use a cloud lifter, which just turns the gain up just a little bit. So the SM7B is my dream mic as a metal vocalist, Beck says. Yeah, so the SM7B, this is really interesting. The SM7B is identical to the SM57 and the SM58. The internals are identical. The difference is the vocal shield and pop filter. So like all of the stuff inside the microphone is identical. So if you get a pop filter and you use an SM57 or an SM58, the internals are the same. So you can spend $100 and get an SM7B. It's the same stuff that they use inside. There's one small difference. There's one little transistor that's separate, and there's tons of videos online showing you how to mod it and remove it, and so that way you can actually get like an identical SM7B for $100. But one of the reasons why I love the SM7B so much is because it's like this. You screw it to a stand. You can run it around wherever you want. It has the pop filter built in. It's got different windscreens. It just works. I grab it and it just works. I don't have to think about a pop filter. I don't have to think about anything else. You just screw it together and it works. This is the PD70. This is Personas's version of the SM7B. It's pretty good. I really like it. I think this was $100. So, how would you adjust? Jordan says, how would you adjust the physical EQs, knobs, and on studio monitors? All neutral. So I leave everything flat. I turn my monitors all the way up, which is what I've done, and I leave everything flat, and then I adjust everything on my interface. This is because I want to make sure that I'm getting a nice clean sound in my room, and I understand what my monitors sound like. I would rather, and this is just me, okay, but personally, I would rather clean up my room, get acoustic treatment on there, get some bass traps and all this other stuff to get a nice sound, so that way I know that my room sounds good. If I'm getting too much low end, I don't want to immediately go and adjust the speaker. I'd rather fix it in my room first, and then if I have to go to the speaker level, then I will. But for the most part, I just leave everything flat on the back of the speakers, turn the volumes all the way up, and then I learn how my monitors sound. If you push your monitors against a wall, okay, and they are rear ported, meaning that the air hole is in the back of the monitor, you might have some low-end rumble issues because that's all that stuff just hitting the back of the wall. So first things first is pull your monitor. Like my monitors are about, I'd say 3 foot-ish away from my wall. So they're back a little bit, which kind of cuts in the space of this room, but that's okay. And that's what I use. And so because they are rear ported, and so all that stuff would just hit the wall and it wouldn't be good. Do you do all of this with headphones or monitors? I usually use headphones most of the time, and then I'll check in my monitors. If I'm producing music or having fun, I like to do like with my headphones, my monitors, just so that I can like jam out. But when it comes to like editing vocals and stuff like that, I'll use headphones a lot just because you can get like a nice, it's like right here, and it just I don't know. It just sounds better, and I don't have to worry about making noise in the rest of the house. I've been told that in order to get a good mix, you need monitors, but I'm living in a college dorm right now, so it isn't practical. Is there better headphones that get close to monitors? Okay, yeah, this is a great question. First of all, that's a lie. You could get great sounding mixes with a pair of headphones, and that's it. You need nothing else other than a pair of headphones. Monitors are a nice to have. If you have a studio setup, it's nice to have studio monitors. You can sit there, jam out. You don't have to have headphones on all the time. You get a little bit less ear fatigue with monitors because these are right here on your head. So like you have to take more frequent breaks with headphones. But there's two headphones that I recommend. I really like the M50Xs. The Audio-Technica M50Xs. They're great. These, I don't even remember what they are. They're Newmark. I use these all the time because I got really used to them, and they sounded great. They're like DJ headphones, but they have a really large speaker. I believe it's like 50. I can't remember, something like that. But nevertheless, it's big. So there's a lot of clarity in the low end. I really like it. But if you're gonna like one stop shop headphones, the Audio-Technica M50Xs, they're like $150, best $150 you'll ever spend. And then if you have some extra cash to spend, you could get a pair of the Slate Digital headphones as well, but I don't know. I haven't personally tested those myself, so I can't speak from experience. But if you have a pair of Apple AirPods that you listen to music on all the time, you're probably going to get a better mix from those because you know what they sound like. You're jamming out to your metal bands that you like to listen to on those Apple AirPods. So why don't just mix your own stuff on those AirPods until you eventually have a studio for yourself and you can have monitors and headphones and everything else. You're just going to get better mixes quicker. There are some things like, it might be hard to judge some low end stuff. That's what you just check it like in your car and check it on another pair of headphones. But if you know what a mix sounds like in the headphones, just use those. I can't adjust volume from my interface, only my DAW. What interface do you have? That's odd. Yeah, that is weird. I have the Audient, which every interface I've ever owned allows me to adjust the volume from there. If you're using a sound card in your computer, then you have to adjust the volume from your computer, which would potentially be a problem. I'd say an interface is like one thing that you would really need to get. In 10-Day Producer, I have an entire section of like the pro studios under each individual budget. I have under $250. I have under, I believe it's $1,000, and then I have under $2,500. So 3 different levels, no matter what your budget is, and I break everything down inside of there and like what's necessary, what you get with all this, the best stuff I recommend. It's great stuff. But dude, if you just have a pair of headphones that you listen to music on all the time, just use those. Use those. You're gonna get a better mix. The Behringer 404. Yeah, there is a volume knob on it. I don't have it with me right now. But there's that blend knob, the one that like blends the interface sound from the computer audio. Make sure that's set completely to computer audio. And then the volume, then there's a knob below it that adjusts the volume. Yeah, I've used the Behringer 404, U4A 404 a ton. And it's definitely got a volume knob on there. Just definitely check that out. Unless of course the knob's broken or something like that are missing. When aligning 2 vocal takes, is this through Melodyne or is it quantized? Let me show you. So when aligning vocal takes, I think everybody should just do this. Like there are plugins that make this faster. I really like using VocalLine, but there's plugins that make it faster. And I could just literally quantize it in a second. But what I like to do personally, especially for just starting out, is because it's nice to know what things are. And if you could do it for free, I'd just do it for free. You can actually cut different sections of audio here. So you can see how this one is he's just a hair ahead. I can actually just slip the audio and align it there. And then make sure that it ends at the right spot. So I could literally just cut it there. And then fade it off like this. And that's what that would sound like. So I can, align that by hand. So you just go by hand and make sure that you align those by hand. There is a tool called VocalLine, but you kind of have to be somewhat close to it. So, yeah, definitely do that. And what do you use for auto-tune and pitch correction? I use, first up is Melodyne. Melodyne is that, like this right here. This is Melodyne. and you can actually like play each note.
You're my anchor in
Yeah, see how pitch doesn't work very well. You can only go so far with it.
and I know you're my you're my anchor and I know.
Yeah, so you really can't go too far with it. But Melodyne is great for cleaning up vocals and whatnot. And then I use a little bit of Metatune from Slate Digital. I really like that plugin. It works pretty good as long as like you're somewhat close already. So, awesome. Melodyne for pitch. Yeah. Jordan says, thank you so much for showing me how to do that. Awesome. So I think so far we've covered everything. If anybody has any more questions, now's the time. Otherwise, I'm going to be sending this live stream to everybody. I just started messing with Melodyne. The plugin is very, very impressive. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'm thrilled with it. So, I've used it for a couple years. I used to use FlexTune in Logic a lot, and it was okay. I liked the way it found notes, but I didn't really like the. It was artifacty. It added a lot of artifacts. So I like Melodyne better, in my personal opinion. So. Beck says, thank you for this. Yes, just started messing with Melodyne. The plugin's very impressive. Yeah, it's great stuff. It really is. I really, really like it. And so I use it a ton. So anyway, is Metatune close to WavesTune Live? Oh, actually, you know what? WavesTune Live is great. So if you have the Slate Digital All Access Pass, you can use Metatune. It's in there. But WavesTune Live is only like $30 or $40, and it works really, really well. So yeah, we use WavesTune Live at the church to stream to the radio, and it works flawlessly. I love it. So yeah, WavesTunes is great, even though I'm not really a fan of Waves, but I still use it. So here. Yeah, repitch is good, and more aggressive tuning. I have not used repitch yet. One of my buddies has it. He uses it a lot. He likes it for the most part. But yeah, it's they're all tuning plugins, at the end of the day. Briefly, list what plugins you add to virtual instruments like drums, piano, acoustic guitars, stuff. Yeah, I like to record everything except for my drums. The drums, I use GGD. Get Good Drums. That's for like metal rock productions and stuff like that, or like drum heavy stuff. And then I use Labs for everything else. Labs is free, by the way. Look up Spitfire Labs. You can get tons of free stuff. I get free strings on there. There's tons of great stuff. Highly recommend using Labs. I don't do a lot of like orchestral cinematic music, so it made no sense to invest in that. I invest into sound libraries like drums, and then like actual instruments, getting like a nice sound there. But that's it. How many sets of reference monitors do you have? Which are they? I have one set, and they are the JBL, I believe 605, 604s. I don't know. They're the 6-inch JBLs. I've used them for years. They sound great. Yeah, it's great stuff. Thanks for today's class. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Like I said, after this call, everybody's getting that gift for free. Everybody's getting that mini course. And so make sure you check your email because it'll be in your inbox. If you registered for this event, that's how I'm sending it out. So if you register for this event, it'll be in your inbox after here within the next hour. So awesome. Yeah, Spitfire is great. All right. So make sure that you click the Get Started button. Enroll in a 10-day music producer. It's an absolute blast. People are absolutely loving it so far. It's been a great time. Remember, the $297 is the price that you're going to be able to get today. So make sure you enroll and you have your webinar discount, and it's going to be an absolute blast. So make sure you check your email. I'm super pumped about it. And where is here? And is the offer for today only. The discount, if you register for the webinar, it'll be up until the end of the week. You got until the end of this coming week, and the discount's going away. And so, yeah, the sooner the better that you can get in. So, awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. and I will see you soon.